Previously on Steph-tember, we talked about Stephen King the man ripping off a horror IP. But today we're gonna be fucking, switching the page a little bit, talking positively. Because guess what? We all know Stephen King likes to ramble about being a writer. It's become sort of a, how you call a fucking cliche at this point. A tortured writer being manifested throughout horror within his novels. We saw it in Secret Window, that Johnny Depp flick. We've seen it in, super meta. He's always referencing being a writer, Misery. All his characters like fucking Stand By Me. Bill Denbrough from It. Man talks about being a writer. We get it, bro. You write books. But anyhow, we're going to be talking about a prime example of that today on a little movie from 1993, I think? 1992? 1991? Entitled The Dark Half, which I feel like this was the most provocative, terrifying, and actually quite eerie interpretation of an alter ego of the inner dialogue within a writer that causes someone to be tormented. And all around, I thought this movie was hella fucking gas. And I just saw it for the first time. So come on, What up, y'all? Welcome back to Phantom of the Indie Review. I am your host, Dylan the Villain. We are on the journey of how many subscribers by October, you say? I don't know. I'm saying 5,000. I think 5,000 is reasonable. We talk about the spookiest shit. This is episode 2 in Steph-tember. We got one more. We got the season finale coming in a couple days.
But wait! There's more! Hang on to your seat, baby! Cause this one's a screamer!
We talking about something fucking just as bad. If you like spooky shit, if you like funny shit, if you like this jacket, I got this at Goodwill for like $7. If any of that sounds of interest to you, come hang out with me. Give me a subby. Thaddeus Beaumont is a troubled writer, and he's working on a new idea for a masterpiece that he thinks is really going to pop off. But he didn't necessarily struggle beforehand because he already had a bunch of best-selling novels as is. But here's the kicker, he did it under the pseudonym George Starks. Off the rip, that is a very personal homage to Stephen King's actual life, because I don't know if you knew this or not, he had a time in his life where he also had a pen name, an alter ego under the name Richard Bachman, where he kind of published some other stories based off a different writing style, a different subject. It was all horror, but it was a different vibe and ambiance, But some of the speculation is, I wasn't there during the time, so I'm just fucking doing research, is that to convolate through, back in the days, essentially, writers could only publish X amount of books per year, and, he was a writing machine. He was on all that blow, on all that yayo, and he's like, I want to keep writing books, so what's a better way to do that other than start a new type of writer? Same fucking, write my stories, put under a different name, making double the money. It's like YouTubers nowadays that have 2 channels, and, because his publishing company was like, yo, you can only do 1 book per year type shit. And then also, talent versus luck. He's like, my name has gotten me so far. In the early heyday, all the critics hated my works. They belittle it. They're like, dude, this guy sucks. And all the kids that read his book under the covers in the dark, scary night grew up and they became critics, and they're like, this guy's awesome. So he's like, are people reading my stories and fucking with me for me? Like, should I listen to everybody or myself because myself just told myself, motherfucking man, you don't need no help? Or are my stories good? So he's like, also, 2 birds, 1 stone. I can kind of fucking re-evaluate the situation and use a new name and see if people really like my writing other than just me, myself. But yeah, the gist of it, that's the gist of it, Writers struggle with so much meta, like inner dialogue. That's why writers are so important. And the reason I really like this character, Thaddeus Beaumont, is because he seems like a living, breathing interpretation of the torment Stephen King is going through. And this specific movie, this adaptation, was directed by horror icon himself, George A. Romero. He needs no introduction. Night of the Living Dead. Other stuff that I can't think of off the top of my head because I'm a fucking poser. I'm a noob. I feel like this was a finely tuned script. It's like George A. Romero understood the assignment hella. He really locked in. And I feel like he really understood where Stephen King was coming from. I mean, they're homies, they're dogs, they're homeboys. They fucking worked together on Creepshow. They did a lot of stuff together. So it's like, he's like, bro, I'm gonna make this movie. I'm gonna do me like I've been doing. And that's his boy right there. That's his dog. And the reason I wanted to talk about this movie specifically, because as a creator and writer, I struggle with a lot of that self-reflection and dark demeanor. And I also just feel like it was a really creepy, well-balanced movie. I'm a big sucker for like late 80s, early 90s aesthetic and lore as it vibe as it is, and I feel like this movie like really hit it home. Timothy Hutton as the protagonist, Thaddeus Beaumont, and the alter ego George Starks. I feel like he fucking nailed that shit out of the park. And let's get into the movie a little bit more. So it starts off kind of crazy where Thaddeus at a young age gets a typewriter and he is writing these books, but he's writing these short stories, and coincidentally as all this is happening, he's getting like chronic migraines. Like he's going up to the school bus and like is falling and like kipping in the grass, and his mom's concerned, so they take him to the doctor and they do like a procedure on him. And during this procedure, they open up the back of his head. It's like, oh, there's one nurse is like puking everywhere, and they're all like screaming, and the one doctor's like, yeah, this was supposed to be a twin, but it never came to be. Like, there's a fucking eyeball in the back of his head, like some teeth. He's like, it looks like it just developed into one fetus, and he's just suffering migraines because there's like a dead person inside of him, and that's haunting within itself. And during the midst of all of this, very symbolically, there are black sparrows filling up the sky. And it leaves you to wonder, like, is this fucking fetus ghost spirit coming back to haunt Thaddeus? Jump to present day, he has 2 beautiful twins. Coincident? I think not. Twins run in the family. And a loving wife, and he just seems to be all around great. Like, I never seen Timothy Hunt in shit, but I really love this character so much, Thaddeus Beaumont, and he's struggling writing this book. He's like, yo, I'm gonna be the next fucking big thing. And we find out that instead of using an alias, he had used an alias originally. So George Starks, he was struggling writing, and then the dark half of him, the thing that suffers within him, kind of started popping off more, and his wife was reluctant. She's like, I know you love the George Stark books, but you're mean when you do those books, you drink a lot, you're tormented. And Thaddeus is like, you have to understand, George is my only friend. And it's kind of a play on like mental illness. Like, is he schizophrenic? Is it supernatural? Is it very meta and metaphorical? Like, what is going on? And he doesn't want to go back to that. He's like, I just genuinely want to write this new novel. I'm a great dad, I'm a teacher at a college, I want to turn a new leaf. So he starts to write a book that his wife absolutely loves. Cut to a very important scene to me is at the college. He's doing like a lecture, and he's pretty much talking about how writers have an inner dialogue and an outer dialogue, and writers specifically can channel that inner dialogue and say the stuff that people want to say without being judged. They want to tackle fear, sensitive subject matter, things that a lot of people don't speak out because that's being true to themselves. Like, what's the point of writing down words if it's not deep, if it's not a reflection of who you are on the inside? And essentially, he says it very profoundly yet eerily. He's like, on the inside, we all have a dark half. And you can tell that Thaddeus is struggling detrimentally with this conflict he's had in his life with George Starks, because the way he references George, it's like almost like not even an alter ego, not even just like a disposition or a mood. It's like there's something inside of him. Again, it might be that twin. And after his college session, this dude comes up from the back. His name's like Frank or something. He's like, hey, I've been doing some research, hombre, and I am on to you. I know for a fact that you are George Starks. And I really like this setup and this, drama and this disposition that's being created. My only thing is, I'm sure in the novel they explain it more, who this Frank character is and how he might know Thaddeus more. In the movie, it was just kind of loosely added on. So it could have used a little bit more backstory, but I think Ted Levine, or who is it, Robert Joy plays Frank, and he just does great. He's like, I know that you are the one that does these George Stark novels, and because they're very vulgar, they're very provocative, they're very like edgy, they're kind of like smut books, but like brutal. And he's like, I know you're like a fun-loving family man now, and I'm going to expose you. So what does Thaddeus do? Instead of submitting to defeat and paying this fucking thief, we're going to call an ace of spade, whatever the saying is, instead of paying him, he's like, actually, I'm going to come clean to my publishers and to everyone and let them know I'm George Stark. Genius. And you think that's fucking fine and dandy. He hires a photographer, he hires a journalist, he calls up his publication place. They're like, hey, can I fucking come out of the closet as George Starks? And he's like, well, yeah, I guess you can. And they're a little disheveled by that. They're like, yo, George Stark sells a lot, but we have faith in you, Thaddeus. So at this nice little humble, beautiful, quaint cabin somewhere in Maine, I think, the photographer comes up, and they're kind of doing like a set piece. They're taking pictures of them burying George Stark. It's a George Stark tombstone, and they're like, Thaddeus Beaumont, the brilliant mind behind George Stark, is writing a novel using his real name. And the fucking editor is asking him all these questions, and you can just feel this sense of tension and dread and torment within inside Thaddeus. He's like pretty much calling him out. He's like, what's your opinion on George? He's like, George was my best friend. And he's like, are you happy moving on from this character? He's like, I am, but George might not be. George might want to fucking fucking snap your neck. Like, just crazy shit. Like, everyone's looking at him like, oh my god. He finally buries the past, buries the hatchet. Goodbye, George Stark. Time to move on. Bitch, that's what you thought. Because the very next night, shit hits the fan. The man who was the photographer is driving down a dark, desolate road in the middle of the night when he gets pulled over by a shadowy figure. It's Thaddeus. He's like, Thaddeus, what are you doing out here in the middle of the night? Comes up, rips him through his window, beats him to death with his prosthetic leg, ditches him, fucking dismantles the cemetery grave plot that they did the photo shoot in, steals a car, a bunch of crazy shit. I'm not gonna get into it, you gotta watch it. He kills the photographer. But Thaddeus was on a New York trip doing all the press, conversations, publications, like telling everyone that he's George Stark now. He's off making riches, spreading clout. So he comes home to a disaster when all of a sudden, again, this is another recurring thing, the sheriff comes to town. I think his name's Alan, I'm not sure, it's Sheriff. I'll call him Sheriff. Played by Michael Rooker. Fucking love this guy, phenomenal. Very good in this movie specifically. Usually he plays kind of the asshole, the jackass in movies, but he was really great in this one. And again, it's another issue where it's like the same as that Frank character. When a novel is interpreted into a feature-length film, they gotta cut back on some things, but the sheriff opens the door and he's like, oh, good to see you, buddy. They tell the cops, we know him personally, he's a good friend of ours. What are you doing up in this county? Something bad might be happening. And throughout the movie, the sheriff shows a lot of trust and respect and love for Thaddeus and his wife, but I wish I knew why. Like, I wish there was like a backstory or a little bit more lore into why they're so close, because he gives Thaddeus a lot of benefit of the doubt. He's like, we got your fingerprints at the crime scene, we got eyewitnesses, like, where were you? He's like, I was in New York. And like throughout the movie, the sheriff is really trying to like help him prove the point that he's not the killer, but also he doesn't trust him. He's like, I fuck with you, I've known you a long time, but all the signs are pointing to you. Like, I'd be crazy not to think. He said, what do you think, George Starks is real? It's just a really harrowing tale that I really quite dug a lot. And from there, the movie just picks up flawlessly. It's a lot of tension as the George Stark character comes to fruition. We see more bits of him, more dialogue, and it is also played by Timothy Hutton. And I gotta say, like, a lot of times in movies when an actor plays two roles, whether it's twins or fucking Nutty Professor type shit where he plays family members, whatever, that's different. Like, it takes a lot of gumption, and I really like the partition between Thaddeus and George Stark. Like, Timothy Hutton, like, even there's a few times where I'm like, is that even Timothy Hutton? And it is, and he just has two different vibes and ambiance. Like, George Stark is dark, brutal, belligerent, malicious, but like he has humanity to him, and he has like self-respect. He's very sardonic, where he's humorous. Like, there's this one scene where he's on a killing spree and someone opens the hallway door at an apartment. He's like, what's going on here? He goes, murder, do you want some? And it's not too funny, it's not too quirky, but it's just fun. Even towards the end when he's explaining why he's doing what he's doing, he just has like a deep understanding and sophistication to him that, like, and I feel like Thaddeus and George both do. They have humanity, they have life, they have a lot of things to fight for. George says some stuff that you're like, I really am rooting for him, and I really want him to shine as well. But clearly we want Thaddeus to win. So the movie unravels a lot, and all I gotta say is y'all gotta check this one out heavily. But yeah, this movie genuinely might be one of my favorite fucking horror movies of all time. Is that a lot to put on a movie I just saw the other day for free on Tubi? Absolutely, but it hit all the check marks. It was eerie, it was fun, it had great storytelling, the acting was there. Like, I'm a 90s baby, so I'm a sucker for that time, and I really like this movie a lot. Again, I didn't want to spoil quite everything because I want people to go into this movie and see some more. Like, there are other flaws. I mean, yeah, again, when there's an adaptation, you're never going to get everything fully explained. With the Sparrows, they do the best they can with understanding that, with some of the side characters, with some of the reasoning why George Stark is fully doing what he's doing. Like, they give you the best they can and it doesn't feel forced. But I feel like this movie could have benefited from being a little bit longer. Like, it was already 2 hours as it is. In the 90s, they ain't making a 2.5 hour movie. If they remade this movie today, I feel like they would do justice. But who would they get to play Thaddeus / George Stark? Me? I'm not an actor. Timothy Hutton was phenomenal. There were some not brutal kills in there, but some gory, fun ones. The pacing was amazing. It was very psychological. Like, there was times where you genuinely were thinking that Thaddeus was the killer all along. You're like, actually, he might be playing George Stark, because there's a point where, like, someone in New York gets killed when he's there too, and they're like, dude, like, you're all over the places, your fingerprints are everywhere. And there's, sometimes you don't want to believe fully that it is supernatural to an extent. And like, again, I haven't read it, but it's reminded me, like, Stephen King kind of followed up with this premise with The Outsider. Again, Stephen King is kind of always making his intrusive thoughts villains and like monsters, and I feel like this one is a great depiction, and I am gonna go on a limb and say that George Stark might be one of his best evil characters of all time. Fuck Annie Wilkes. Fuck Pennywise the Dancing Clown. That creep from the Dark Tower? Yeah, right? But no, George Starks is awesome, and I want to see like more. Like, I'm thinking about reading this book. Like, would you guys watch a video if I reviewed the book? Let me know. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. Give me a thumber. Hit that ding-ling button or else you telling you, hey, it's me, I'm here. And I'm going to say it one time for the one time, two times for the O's. Give me a hell yeah. Or horror. Blame it on September, 'cause it hurts to remember.
Vision of a nightmare come true.
Are you ready? Just waiting on you.
Moonface, Moonlight Man. They look a lot alike. Like, did Stephen King fucking rip off man? So that's for you to decide. But yeah, this episode focuses